So economics is the study of human action. Let's define what human action is. Okay, along the lines of Ludwig von Mises, human action is the first fundamental principle of economics upon which all other principles are established. We have to have a starting point, right, in the science of economics. The starting point is that human beings act. Is this an undeniable fact? Yes. Because if you attempt to deny it, you end up verifying it. What is an act? Moving, studying, reading a book. Can you not act? No, that's an act in itself, right? You're saying, I don't want to act. You know. So economics, the starting point for the science of economics is that human beings act. You have to act. You cannot not act. Okay, it's innate. We are pre-wired to act. But then when we act, how do we act? Did you just wake up in the morning and start walking in one direction, or No, you act with a purpose. You act with a purpose. So action it has to be purposeful, because we are volitional. We have a cognitive capacity, right? So economics is the study of human being waking up in the morning and acting, because you can't act. But action must be purposeful. You have a goal. You have a target. Then you have ranking. You don't just something comes to mind, you don't do. You had an option today. You could go to church, you could go to the movie theater, go to the beach, or come to the Menger Institute program, right? So you acted, but you acted with reason, and you ranked your goals. There were alternatives, right? So you rank. So therefore, economics is the study of human beings, right? Acting purposely with a purpose, and ranking their goals, goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. And then how did you come to the institute today? Well, you could have walked, you could have taken the bus. Well, you found the most efficient way. Okay, what was the efficient way? Maybe carpool, take a taxi, right? So human beings have goals, and we're going to use scarce resources, right? And efficiently use this transportation means to get to the institute, to the lecture. So suddenly from the axiom of action, we're able to derive other principles that we have to choosing, that there are scarcities, we're going to use our scarcities efficiently, right? So we're starting building up a science of economics, starting from the axiom of action, okay? Ludwig von Mises was able to cover the entire spectrum of human beings exchanging in the marketplace, starting from one truthful principle, which is the axiom of action. We're going to talk more about that later on. So the principle says that human beings act. Human action is the driving force behind all economic activities. What we're going to do in this course, remember the naked ape who entered society, right, built the institutions and the governance systems and the medium of exchange, security, jurisprudence, right? So that human being, right, we have discovered that he is driven by human action to be the driving force behind all the economic activities of human beings. Economists trace the implication of purposeful human action, underline implications. So the economics is the study of the implications of human action. So we act, we cannot not act. What are the implications of human action? Human action, number one, some of the characteristic is innate, as I said. It is innate. It is biological, it is intrinsic, we are pre-wired, you cannot not act. The axiom is tautological. What does the word tautology mean? Tautological, please?
It's true.
It's true.
Like without any sort of like doubt.
It's true without any sort of doubt. Anyone else? Tautology, it's true without tautological. How do you know it's true? What is the mechanism of you knowing that something is true? Do you observe it? Do you gather data? Do you run regressional analysis? No, it's via introspection. It's in your head. Self-reflection. Inner reflective. Okay? Contemplation.
Deductive reasoning.
Deductive reasoning. Okay, that's what deductive reasoning is. Retrospection. In your head, you know that you're acting. You know that you cannot not act. Okay? So economics doesn't study knee-jerk reactions, sleepwalking, right? So economics is study of reasonable and purposeful action. So the axiom is tautological. That is a statement that is true any place and any time. The Pythagorean theorem, right? A squared is equal to B squared and C squared. That's true any place, anytime. It was true billions years ago, it's going to be true on planet Mars, any place, anytime. So economic theorems we're going to find out are tautologies. It's true in one case, it's untrue. No, they are tautological. Why? Because we're going to derive them based on our human nature and our essentialist human nature. Something that's driven by our human nature are tautological. Okay, and then we're going to shortly talk about human nature. So the axiom is tautological. Truthful statement, true, any place, anytime. We don't need the scientific mechanism, scientific method to prove its veracity. It's by contemplation, inner reflection, right? We arrive at its truthfulness. Only individuals act. Human action, society cannot act. As a free market economist, as an Austrian economist, I can't say France attacked Germany. It just doesn't make sense. France cannot act. You know, you can identify certain generals, right, came together, made a decision. So individuals act. Society is an abstract entity. It cannot act. Evolutionary biologist Richard Dawkins argued that self-preservation, right, the struggle for survival, is primarily an individual struggle. Okay, we don't struggle as a group to survive, but even we struggle as a group, but at the same time, within the group, we're also struggling to survive, right? So sometimes we congregate to defend against a bigger enemy, but at the same time, we're struggling to survive within the group. So it's an individual struggle rather than a group phenomenon. He also argued that natural selection acts primarily, underline primarily, not all the time, but most of the time, on individuals within a population. It is hence an individual's actions that determines his surviving, his struggle to survive. Okay? So only individuals act. So economics cannot be a science of aggregates. Aggregation, macroeconomics has no place in the science of economics. Individuals are the primary agents who make choices, pursue goals, and engage in interactions with others. Society is an abstract entity. It does not possess independent agency. Okay? We're going to find out how important this distinction is of who's acting. Is it societal action or is it individual action? Instead, it is the trivial sum of individual actions and interactions. Economics is not the study of aggregates. It does not study society as an entity per se, but how and why individuals congregate, right? So instead of studying society as an aggregate, as a group, we study why individuals are congregating together, joining groups, right? The division of labor, etc. So it's an individual study of the individual rather than the group. Society is a means in an individual's quest for homeostatic equilibrium. Individual human beings, they use society for their own benefits, and it's not the other way around. Okay? It's irrational to say I enter society to benefit society. Okay? You enter society to benefit yourself. Okay? So I distinguish between a market society and a political society. Okay? A market society is the voluntary exchange in the marketplace. A political society is bordered, right, with flags. Blood has been spilled to create these borders. It's like, oh, over the border, you know, I don't like, no, my empathy stops at the border. Why should your humanity stop at the border? Okay? So these borders are arbitrary. They're not created via peaceful mechanisms. It's all conquest. Okay? Franz Oppenheimer has a book called The State, and he explores the evolution of how the states were formed, and they were all bloody phenomena. Okay, they weren't created by peaceful mechanisms. So the individual enters society in his quest for homeostatic. What is homeostatic equilibrium? It's like inner equilibrium. The body needs energies, you need resources, you need heat, right? So it's the resources that the individual needs to survive. Only individuals feel pain. Society doesn't feel pain. Only individuals feel happiness, love, and betrayal. So economics is the study of the individual. Actions and preferences are therefore singular and subjective. So your actions are subjective. Your preferences is different than another human being's preferences. So actions and preferences are singular and subjective. The study of aggregate concepts like inequality, poverty, GDP, trade, deficit, and social justice should be considered part of a bureaucratic studies. Why don't we move all of this outside of economics and start a new department on campuses and universities called bureaucratic studies? Okay? Inequality. Do you know what the inequality in the US is? What's the level of inequality in the US? Top 10%, top 10%, bottom 10%. Or we call it the Gini coefficient. There are ways of... You shouldn't. If you knew, I'll kick you out of this classroom. Who cares? Do you know what the level of poverty is? Does anyone wake up in the morning and say like, oh, what is the level of poverty between, or disparity between, Brazil and the US, inter-country poverties, right? We don't. We care about the poor, that's different. You may care about the individual poor people, unfortunate members of the society. That's where the warm glow comes, right? So we won't talk about that. But poverty as a concept, right? As an aggregate concept. How about inequality? I mean, what does it mean, inequality? It's a worthless statistics. What does it mean, inequality? There's going to be inequality in the grades. Some students will get A's, some students will get B's, some students will get C's, some students will get F's, some students will get an A+. Okay? So, what does that mean? There is a great distribution, and then what? Is there any meaningful information that worries you, that you want to think about? No. It's a distribution. Okay, the statistics doesn't have feelings. It's just that there is a distribution of grades. We're fine with it if it reflects our comparative advantage. Some students will get an A in economics, but will get an F in mathematics. Some students in literature will get a B. It's just the grades are an indication of your comparative advantage. They're unequal. So the statistics inequality in itself is worthless. It doesn't have any meaning. Okay. It's an aggregate variable. We don't know what it means. Inequality could arise because a household, two spouses, they're both working, and one of them decides to be a stay-at-home mom or dad. So income goes down. Oh, inequality is going up. But what does that mean? It's a subjective preference they have. Some people, prefer certain jobs over other jobs. Some people like changing jobs, stay there rather than staying at the same job. Right? So inequality reflects our subjective preferences in the marketplace. So in order for inequality or poverty or GDP to have meanings, we economists, we say, we require methodological individualism. That means as a policymaker, okay, I have to trace it all the way down to individual level activity. That's where I discover what is inequality is, what it means, and how it should be dealt with, okay, rather than the aggregate statistics. You see aggregate statistics, they're worthless. You need to find out what they mean. How did they come about, okay? Justice. How about justice? I hear this word, social justice. What's social about justice? Why are we socializing? We're in the business of socializing everything. It's like everybody. No. Justice is an individual matter, not a socialized matter. Why do we socialize it? Why not? Because each person experiences justice in a different way. Somebody walks in and slaps me, maybe I turn the other cheek. Maybe he punches him back. Maybe one person walks away. Like, we react differently. We require different justices. Some of us want compensation. Some of us want physical punishment, violence committed against the other person. So why are we socializing justice? Different people, right? They have different preferences of how to deal with an injustice. So let's talk about private individual justice rather than socializing justice. Okay, we don't want to socialize, we want to decentralize everything. We want to go back to individual level preferences, individual justice, individual preferences that manifest themselves via action in the marketplace. So we don't talk about how do I know what your preferences are. What do you desire, punishment or a compensation? Right? That's going to be discovered in the marketplace via action. So we'll talk more about this. Are just introductions for now. Human action is purposeful. We talked about the purposefulness of human action. Human action involves prioritizing, right? So we have goals, we prioritize. These are all characteristics of human action. The primary goal of human action is to maintain physical, psychological stability, right? This is the innate, the homeostatic equilibrium, aligning with our genetic predispositions for survival. We are genetically predisposed to survive. It's survival of the genes, right, that translate into survival of the human being. I look at human beings or the naked ape as just vessels for the genes to survive, right? And then procreation. Has anyone thought why procreation is a pleasurable activity?
Because God wanted us to have a good time and to make sure we can make more.
Well, so nature, God, right, wanted us to have a good time and procreate, right? So, but the procreation is the genes. The genes, we're just vessels, like the genes come in us, they're like, oh, like this is a good host. We're smart, cognitive, we protect the genes, and then they make procreation a pleasurable activity. So we don't forget about it. We don't like, oh, I don't want to have kids. No, like you have kids, So the genes, it's a survival of the genes that manifests in the survival of human beings. Aristotelian philosophy teaches us that life's function is to fulfill an inherent purpose, achievable through reason and purposeful, self-interested action. I can emphasize the role of self-interest. We want to talk about it, we want to define it. It's a direct consequence of scarcities in the study of nature and purposeful human behavior. Self-interest is not something, you cannot say I'm not self-interested, then I will say you're not human. Okay, just self-interest is innate in us because of the scarcities of the world and the struggle of survival. Okay, but that's the most beautiful thing. That's what kept human beings, the Homo sapiens, alive. Okay, we survived for hundreds of thousands of years as human beings, at least anatomically 300,000 years, cognitively 50,000 years, or even you go before that, right? Before the hominin lineage, and survival rested on self-interest. Okay, and this self-interest, actually, we're going to find out that it leads to the betterment of the society as a whole. Okay, self-interest doesn't mean causing harm to other people. It actually, you end up benefiting other people by being self-interested. Another word I hear a lot is satiation. Oh, like you have billions of dollars, you have everything, and you're satiated. Unfortunately, it's a curse. Human beings can never be satiated. You can never in your life get to a point and say, I'm done, it's okay, I'm just going to sit down and relax. It doesn't work. You know why? Because the next day you wake up, you have to act. So when you act, you have to use your brain. I have goals, I want to achieve the goals, I want to use the easiest, fastest, cheapest way, efficient way to get to my goals. You cannot not have goals. Okay, even if you climb Mount Everest and you want to go scuba diving. Okay, Muhammad Ali, the boxer, right? He won the world champion, young age. Well, he said, there was a question asked, he said, I'm not satiated. He wanted to be successful in business, so always you want to do something in life. You cannot be satiated. So non-satiation underlies, continuous non-satiation underlies a predisposition in our human nature. So it's intrinsic to us for not being content. Mises was pessimistic. Okay, Rothbard said it's okay, you're in a situation and you want to improve your position, But that's Rothbard. Mises was more pessimistic, okay? Human preferences are subjective. Only you know what you like. I cannot. There is no measuring stick for me to tell you, you on a Sunday going to church was a bad idea, you should have went to the beach, So there is no objective hierarchy of ranking people's goals. It's subjective to the individual. So economics doesn't study your choices. Whether you pick self-sacrifice or self-flagellation or self-immolation, economics doesn't tell you that's right or that's wrong. Those are the choices. That's the science of psychology, why you're picking certain goals over the other. Economics doesn't study why you pick apples or oranges. Economics studies that you pick purposely, and then you rank your goals, and you find the most efficient way to get to your goals. That's the study of the science of economics. Furthermore, I would like to talk about, so human action utilizes scarce resources to achieve subjective ends, right? Whether it's music, etc. Now, some of you would say it's not self-interested. Sometimes we've seen people sacrificing their lives. So what does that mean? You're sacrificing your life to save another life. Doesn't that go against your self-interest?
No, because things like warm glow and whatnot are like internal motivations for kind actions?
Bravo. Things like warm glow. You get internal psychological, physiological satisfaction by sacrificing yourself for the group. That's good. I want to add something else. As a matter of fact, self-sacrifice is even innate in us because it's genetically, we are predisposed. For example, that's my son, Nari. Raise your hand. Okay, that's Nari. Yeah, he's my son. He's 17 years old. So by the way, we have remote students who are joining us. I think the ages range from 17 all the way to 81. Okay, so we have a wide age group. So we have, I don't know, several students joining us. So we have, so Nari is my son, right? So do I sacrifice myself? If a danger comes, do I sacrifice myself for my son? I do. Why? Without thinking, it's innate, it's intrinsic, it's instinctual. It's my genes. I'm predisposed, predetermined. I only ask God for give me a second. If the danger is coming, right? If I take a second to think about it, I will not sacrifice my life. Because, I mean, his life is not worth more than my life. There's no way I'm sacrificing for my life for this guy. But he's lucky, because it's instinctual. It's innate in us. Without thinking, right, danger comes, I'm going to jump and protect my son. Okay? But if I hesitate and I have a moment to think about it, I'm not doing it. Okay? So I just sacrifice because it's instinctual. Okay? So that adds that you want warm glow. So then the self-sacrifice becomes what? Why do I sacrifice for him and not for him? Because of our gene overlap. It's the gene overlap. People sacrifice for their family. People sacrifice for their tribes. Sacrifice for their country. Right? That's going too far because country there isn't gene overlap under the statism that we have now, right? But in the old like city-states where there is like a group of people, they come from the same tribe or clan, there is self-sacrifice because of the gene overlap. And if the gene overlaps gets closer and closer, self-sacrifice for a son or a daughter becomes instinctive. Okay? So there's the gene overlap and the warm glow. So self-sacrifice could be explained by our self-interest. So self-interest doesn't mean only selfish act. Self-interest means helping other people. That helps me. Okay? So the rationality of ends is subjectively determined by the individual. Human action is rational. I think we have a few more minutes left. Human action is rational, right? Cognitively rational. Now the goals are not objectively rational. Okay, they're subjective, right? You picking on the day of an exam, you pick to go to the movies, right? That's, I mean, for me it's not rational. You should be studying, but for you may be rational. So the goal, the end goals are subjectively determined. There is no objective measure of rationality. But the means, we can say this mean is better over the other means. How do you want to take taxi or Uber? Which one is cheaper, right? So we can talk about rationality about the means, but not the rationality about the end goals, because they are subjective. Rational human being action analysis, which entails breaking down complex economic phenomena into components and understanding their underlying mechanism. So human action is rational. Volitional, what is human action is volitional. That means your will put into action, okay? So I have a will in my head, I want to do something and putting it into action. That's what human action is. So economics doesn't study sneezing or, knee-jerk reactions or night sleepwalking, right? Because there is no volition behind it. It is independent of the individual intentions. Every action is gainful. Never come to me and tell me, oh, I did something for someone else. It just doesn't exist. Every action is gainful, must be gainful, it's innate to you. You have some benefit. Okay? Even self-sacrifice, you have a benefit in it. I give you $1 million, I benefit from it. I benefit in the form of warm glow. We're going to talk about warm glow later on, okay? No human being will take an action that's not gainful. Just doesn't, how would you do something that's not gainful to you? Okay? So it doesn't work that way. So human action is gainful. Biologist Richard Dawkins, in his important work, The Selfish Gene, he posits that successful genes exhibit ruthless selfishness. as a predominant quality. He further posted that this genetic selfishness typically manifests as selfish behavior in individual. So the genetic selfishness is turning into individual self-interest. Sociologist William Graham Sumner proposes that human nature characterized by self-interest is universal across all individuals, societies, and social strata. Economic theory posits that no economic agent will voluntarily engage in an action perceived as unprofitable. Altruistic behavior, right, we talk about fundamentally of self-interest. It is to satisfy your warm glow. It's a satisfaction of your warm glow. So just to sum up, in this lecture, introduced characteristics of human action. We understand self-interest. We understand that human being enters society because entry into the society under the division of labor is gainful for the individual. Okay, that's what you enter. So we don't talk about market society rather than political society. And we try to center economic analysis on a strong foundation of human nature. So human action is founded on the basis of human nature. So it is a more human-centric methodology, places human nature, its process, and its principles, and its needs at the forefront of human action. Okay? And that's the end of lecture 1, an introduction to the foundations to human action.